couple that's been together 15, 30, 50 years always ask the same question. What's your advice on long, healthy marriage? They always say the same word. Communication, 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 communication. And then I ask the second question. Okay, so what do you mean by communication? That's why I get crickets. And I always wondered, for so long, it's been bothering me and eating at me. What do they mean by communication? What does that mean? What does that have to do with long, healthy marriage? Like, can you break it down? And I never got an answer. And many of you have. Well, today, I'm going to break it down to you. Why communication is so important in marriage. You have to understand what communication is, people. You have to understand what communication is, how communication is. A lot of times we think of communication as a form of conversation, arguing, yelling, or talking to each other. But we forget, there's many levels of communication. And the most used communication throughout people's lives is nonverbal communication. You know 70 to 93% of communication is nonverbal. That means it's not so much of what we say to each other, it's what we don't say. It's how our actions are. That's where a majority of the communication comes. Without saying anything, you can tell someone that you're attracted to them, that you like them, that you hate them, you're disgusted by them, that you respect them, that you don't respect them. You can tell someone a million different things without ever saying a word. And nonverbal communication is a huge thing in relationships. It's a huge thing. In my relationship, nonverbal communication, me and my wife are a power couple of nonverbal communication. Okay? We're the power couple. What I mean by that is what's being power couple nonverbal communication is, we communicate without saying a word. And a lot of times it leads to us having misunderstanding because we don't effectively learn to communicate and process and understand what we're saying when we're speaking to each other in nonverbal saying. We listen to each other with a disrespectful ear so we don't understand what the other person's saying. Watch this. Go back to the episode I did with Pastor Michelle, LLC, Love, Laughter, and I think it's Caring or Convenience. I don't remember what the C was for. You gotta go back. Don't even give me lying to you people. But anyway, the point is, go back to that. What did Pastor Michelle say? She said, when a man or her husband comes in, he has a bad day, got an attitude, she said what she wanted to do was give him his space. Not to see her ask him why he's angry, frustrated. Give him his space. I was like, yo, that's a gem. That's a gem right there she has dropped. That's a jewel she dropped. And what I mean by that in nonverbal communication, me and my wife being power couple is because this. For instance, one day my wife came home from work, sat down on her laptop, started getting back to work and typing stuff. She got a little attitude. And I could tell, I could feel the energy coming off her. She had an attitude about something, right? So immediately I'm assuming like she's pissed off at me. She's pissed off because I forgot to take out the hamburger meat. I know this morning when she left for work, she told me to take out the hamburger meat. I forgot to take out the hamburger meat, but she knew I had a very important project I was working on, and I had a deadline on this project. I had to get this deadline down, so that's why I forgot the hamburger meat. Now, I didn't say this to my wife, and my wife didn't say that she was mad about the hamburger meat, people. This was a nonverbal communication that was happening here, okay? I assumed she was pissed off about me not taking out the hamburger meat. And the fact that she was pissed off, without her telling me why she was angry, I was angry at her. I became angry at her because I'm like, I'm pissed off that you're angry. I'm pissed off that you're mad that I forgot to take out the hamburger meat because I had an important project to finish. I'm pissed off about you that you were something else. You were something else. You should have knew that I had this important project. I'm pissed off, she's pissed off. Now she's upset, I'm upset. This leads to us not only non-verbally communicating, we now non-verbally communicating with each other that not only is she pissed off with my actions, but now communicating with my actions that I'm pissed off with her, which lets us not speaking throughout the rest of the night. Something you shouldn't do. Never go to bed without speaking or telling each other I love you. You don't know if you're going to wake up the next day. Next day, my wife called me on the phone. Babe, I just want you to know I wasn't upset with you yesterday. I wasn't frustrated or angry with you. It was just that, I was talking to these people at work, and there was a lot going on. They was talking about their problems, and their problems jumped on me. The energy from the conversation jumped on me, and I was feeling upset and frustrated, but I didn't know how to explain how I was feeling. So instead of taking my attitude, my frustration on you or children, I decided to come home and just stay to myself, because if I started talking or tried to communicate with you or the kids, I would have got mad, angry at you for something that you didn't do, something they didn't do, and I would have displayed my frustration out on you. In that instance, I learned a lesson. First of all, don't assume things. When we communicate, learn to stop assuming things and listening with a disrespectful ear, or more importantly, an eye. Look at things, and sometimes you have to wait for the information to come to you and not assume what it is. I made a mistake. I made ass out you and me because I assumed that she was angry at me. And the reality is she wasn't even mad at me. She was frustrated about something else. But if I was effectively able to communicate, to process her frustration, I was seeing that she wasn't angry at me. She made no points to the fact that the hamburger meat wasn't thawed out. She made no points or suggestions to it. She didn't even make eye contact with the kitchen. So that wasn't the issue. But I didn't look at it that way. I didn't process that, people. And a lot of times you don't process this information. We assume the worst. And our assumption turns to even worse, a worse situation, where then we turn to a bigger thing, and we turn something out of an innocent misunderstanding to a huge argument and disagreement. Imagine if one of us didn't wake up this week. How stupid and silly would that be if you didn't communicate over something so simple? And ask yourself, how many times do you non-verbally communicate throughout your life in your marriage and your relationship? Misunderstand what someone's saying because all they needed was some space. Some days I come home and I'm frustrated, I'm angry. I'm not angry at my wife or kids. Sometimes I'm mad because, somebody cut me off in traffic, or I was at the grocery store and the cashier wouldn't take a coupon, or my favorite soda or water or drink wasn't at the store, or they didn't have my favorite type of cake or something. Whatever the case may be. I come home and sometimes I'm frustrated, or someone disrespecting me at work or in the office or something. And sometimes I just need to come home and just let it all out. And just get it all off. And sometimes you just need to learn the communication factor of giving each other space. And understand, people, again, this is a nonverbal communication where someone can tell you, I need space without saying it. But you have to learn to listen and process what a person is saying. Key to a healthy marriage is learning to listen and understand what your spouse is saying to you, even when they're not verbally saying. Knowing it. For all the fellas, when your wife, she take a shower and she's like, yo, I'm going to take a shower. You know what that means, right? You know what that means when she tell you to take a shower. She don't have to go into deep detail. You know what that means. Tell you to take a shower, certain things, or kids in bed, I'm going to bed. You know what that means, right? Okay. It's an adult conversation. We ain't going to go too deep into that. But the point is, we have to learn to communicate and to learn to not listen with disrespectful ear. A lot of times we think someone's temperament, their tone is being disrespectful because of their voice rising. And because we listen to it with a disrespectful ear. It's because we're so insecure in ourselves and we have the intentions or the mindset of disrespect. So we're expecting whenever someone talks to us that they're disrespectful. And when we do that, we start to cut off and we don't process what a person's saying. Key word into communication is learning to listen and processing what someone's saying. And a lot of times, when it's with disrespectful ear, we can't process it because we're waiting for someone to say something disrespectful. For instance, people, and tell me if this ever happened to you, right? Tell me if this ever happened to you. You got a person sitting there talking to you. You have this conversation with your husband, your wife, maybe it's your manager at work, your mom, your pops, your uncle, whoever. You have a conversation with your best friend, whoever it may be. And they sitting there talking to you. And they sitting there like, yo, we got to talk. Like, you know how we always go out. We always have a good time, you know what I mean? We always have a good time. You pick like the dopest clubs. You always look fresh. You always look nice. You're always the responsible one. When we get in there, making sure we get there safely and we get there on time. You're always great. But you always get drunk and you mess up the night when you get drunk because you get rowdy and get aggressive in one fight. You always mess up the night and then you mess up everybody else's night. And we're tired of it. Stop. Disrespectful ear only heard that you always getting drunk and mess up the night. And the response to that would be because you're not going to listen with the fact of listening to information, processing. You heard what they said. You ain't hear about all the good things. You heard what they said. So when you listen, you already generating a response. And your response to that conversation is this. It's going to go as follows. What do you mean? Well, I'm always getting drunk. What about that time, like 3 weeks ago or a month ago, you got drunk? And what about when Shirley got drunk or Victor or Larry got drunk? What about when y'all got drunk and you messed the night up? What about that? When I had to drive you home and I had to carry you to your house? What do you mean? Okay, the disrespectful mindset, the disrespectful ear that you're listening, didn't allow you to process what that person was saying to you. And we go into this with the sanctity of marriage. Let's talk about the sanctity of marriage and how this affects the sanctity of marriage. Your husband talking about, yo, man, we used to always hang out every Friday. We do Netflix and chill. And we get caught up on the newest movie or newest show. And we have the date night or Cupcake Tuesday, or we'll do something great. And we always have fun, And you always, take a shower. You have to put your smell goods on. We're comfortable. We cuddle up on the couch. Well, man, lately, you just be like, I don't know, man. You be sitting here, you got damn attitude all the time. You act like you complaining about the movie. You more into your phone. Then you watch the movie. You sitting there like this the whole time, texting whoever. You act like I ain't here. We don't even cuddle. You sitting on one side of the couch, I'm sitting on the other. Stop. Disrespectful here. All you heard was you're always on the phone texting whoever you think you texting, and you cheating and everything else. You didn't listen to what your husband was saying or what your wife was saying. You didn't let the information process to understand what they're basically saying is like, yo, I want me and you to be able to communicate. When we're sitting there watching the movie, when this time and space is carved out for us throughout our busy schedule, make this time for me and you, and let's eliminate all the distractions and focus on us and what we're doing. But you didn't hear that because you wasn't listening and you didn't process it. You listened, you heard, and as you was listening to them talk, you were forming your response. And your response goes as such. Well, what about the time somebody called, your boy called you, credit called you in the middle of the movie, and you stopped to go take the call? What about that one time you did that, huh? What about that time where you forgot to brush your teeth when you came to the bathroom and your breath was stinking, and you want me to be cold all up under you, and your breath stinking, or you put that cologne on that I told you it didn't like because it smelled like pine trees. My wife says my favorite cologne smell like pine trees. She think everything smells like pine trees. I think she grew up with the pine trees. So no, I'm joking, but you start. Disrespectful ear makes you respond negatively to that comment. And you didn't process, again, to understand that the intentions of your husband or wife wasn't to disrespect you or point out the fact that you always, text and stuff, was to point out, again, we're carving time for us. And I'm just trying to get you to understand this is our time, effectively communicating to let you know what we need, what we need to do to keep our marriage healthy. That we need to call. We have distractions all around us 24 hours a day. There's distractions around us all the time. Our children, our job, the outside world, TV, social media, distractions are around us. We need to carve out time where it's just us. If we have game time, we got to learn to put our devices in a basket, turn them off. Whatever emergency that exists is going to exist when I turn this device on and I get done playing my game. There's nothing that can't wait. But you didn't hear that. You heard the disrespect in his tone. You heard that his tone raised, and you thought that your husband or your wife's tone raised and said, oh, she's being disrespectful. Because you heard with disrespectful ear, but you didn't think that they wasn't being disrespectful, they were being passionate. Because they're passionate about you. But the disrespect in ignorance, the disrespect that lives in the self-consciousness that lives inside you, and your subconscious stands out and force you to defend yourself even when you're in a position where you don't have to. You gotta learn to not listen with disrespectful ear. To effectively communicate, you gotta take off the disrespectful ear and learn to listen with the intentions of hearing what the person's saying, truly listening, identifying, processing it, and then responding effectively. If you feel it's disrespect, sometimes we try to mold a person to be who we want them to be. Try to mold a person to be who we want them to be. I used to date one time before my wife, this is not long for my wife, I dated this girl and she was a klepto, okay? She was a klepto, people. I'm gonna be honest with you, be real with you. If you don't know what a klepto is, she was a thief. I knew it right away, but I didn't want to believe in continuing a relationship. This is my choice. This is me not listening to communication, okay? So she communicated with me that maybe she's not wife material, or maybe she's not trustworthy because she's a klepto, okay? So true story. I'm person is, true story. First day we went on was at the mall, double date with a couple friends. Went to the store, picked up something. Oh, it's really nice. Walked around the store with it, thinking to myself, okay, she's gonna buy this or she's gonna ask me to buy it. So I'm preparing myself to pay for it. And as we're starting to wind down the store and we're getting ready, I'm making my way to the cash register. But notice she's not following me to the cash register. It's the true story. She's walking out the damn door. So I'm like, okay. Now, mind you, as she's walking out the door, the item that she picked up and was walking around the store with is still in her possession. Now, multiple things was going through my mind at this point. One was, oh shit, we're going to jail. I'm going to jail today. Who can I call to bail me out? I'm going to jail for thievery. That was the first thought. Second thought was, okay, maybe she sees something close to the door and she's going to get that too and add that onto the order and I'll pay for it then. Nah, that ain't how it went, people. I mean, it's a rational thought and it was hopeful thinking, but that ain't the way it went. She walked out the store with the item. I was in shock. I was in shock and in disbelief. I had no problem with paying for the item. But she never asked me to. But she was more intentional still. Now, fast forward a little longer in the evening, she's like, me and her female friend, we're going to go for a walk and separate, we'll have a little conversation, a little powwow separate from you guys. So I did, and me and the gentleman that was with the girl that she was dating, we started talking, and having a gentleman conversation. Came back, okay, it's time to leave. As we got in the car, poured out all the stuff she stole from the store. I'm like, oh Lord, someone has a problem. She then went on to days later in deeper into relationship, started to point out all the things in the outfit of her outfit, all the things she stole. Now, what she basically told me was verbally that she was a klepto, she had a problem stealing. Now, in the midst of me looking for a wife, with someone I can build a life with, someone I can build happiness, have children with, what this woman was generally telling me was that she was not the ideal woman. Was not the ideal woman to do that with. One, because she's a damn klepto. And again, if you don't know what klepto is, it's a person who has a problem with stealing things. They have very sticky fingers, and whatever they touch seems to sticky in their fingers, and your possessions become their possessions. So, generally thinking, if I decide to build a family with this person, I'm putting myself in jeopardy of multiple things happening, people. One, I could come home and, half of my things, my sneakers, jewelry, and all the valuable things I have may be missing. Because she stole them, and not because she sells drugs, but just because she steals. Or maybe I come home with a bunch of new stuff, new blender, new toaster that she didn't pay for, but because she stole it. Or one day I might get a phone call from the security at the mall or the police station that you need to pick your wife up because she couldn't pick the kids up from school because she got locked up for stealing. So maybe this is not the person that I should marry. And I didn't marry this person. This is not my wife. I'm not talking about my wife. My wife is no way, no shape, form, hell no, not the person. No. We didn't last long. And the reason we didn't last long because I didn't see that this wasn't the person that I shouldn't be in a relationship with. But everybody else did. And people communicate that with me. But the point is, a lot of times we get caught in our infatuation or the fact that we like somebody that we look past all the red flags of what they're telling us, that they're trying to communicate with us, that whatever in our mindset, whatever idea we create for a wife, that person may not be that. But still, we try to create our mindset, our idea, or identity of a perfect spouse. And when people try to communicate, whether verbally or not verbally, who they are, we don't listen. We don't always listen. What we try to do is we try to take that person and say, oh, well, I want a person who's got the Coke bottle shape, and I know she don't got it right now, but I'm going to make her have it. Because the fact of the matter is she's telling you, like, look, man, I'm not into diets and stuff. You say, well, I'm going to make her get into diets. I'm going to make her, stop eating food and stop drinking soda. Or you meet a woman and she say, I don't cook. And you don't listen to the fact that she's telling you she doesn't cook. And you say, well, I'm going to make her cook. I'm going to get into a relationship with her, and when I marry her, I'm going to push her and force her to be in the kitchen. And you wonder why your marriage is breaking down because you didn't listen. Communication is about listening, people. When we talk about the word hearing and listening, hearing is breaking down the difference between hearing and listening. Hearing is you heard her say she wasn't cook, but despite the fact that she said she wasn't cook, you heard her say it, but you still had in your mindset you're going to make her be cook. You heard the person told you that she was a klepto, but in your mind you said, you know what, I'm going to stop her from stealing when I show her that I can financially pay for these things that she don't need to steal. Or you heard him say that he's an alcoholic or a drug addict. You said, well, I'm going to make you stop drinking because I'm going to keep you home. Or you're a serial cheater, but I'm going to make you not become a serial cheater because I'm going to show you that I'm not like every other woman. You didn't listen to what a person tried to tell you who they are. And because you didn't communicate effectively, you didn't listen, you only heard what they said they were, and that you decided you're going to mold them to be what you want them to be, you become discouraged later on in the relationship because they're not becoming who you want them to be. You get frustrated and discouraged in a relationship. And no matter how much you try to spend time communicating to this person of who you want them to be, who you want them to look like, how you want them to be shaped and working, that you want them to stop being serial cheaters, stop drinking, and stop stealing, and all the other things they do. You notice that it's not changing. You become increasingly frustrated. But you did. You did everything everybody said, right? Because the 50-year marriage told you to communicate, and you did communicate, right? You did talk to them. You kept sitting them down. You kept trying to communicate what you desire and what you want from them. But what you didn't realize in this communication was you missed a very important factor in the communication process. Listening, people. Listen when someone tells you who they are, process it, believe it, and then move accordingly. Because if they tell you they're a cheater, they're a drinker, alcoholic, and all this other good stuff, a klepto or whatever else, then believe them what they say are, and you have a choice. At that point, you have a choice to either continue on with this relationship, proceed with caution to this relationship, knowing that the process that this is going to become an issue, and that you have to honor and respect it, and just be what it may. Or you can say, you know what? I respect you for being who you are. I hope you find a person that truly can match your energy, and walk away from it. And if you were listening and processing it, you're going to walk away with either two choices. You're going to walk away with saying, yo, I accept you for who you are, I'm going to love you for who you are, and I'm going to appreciate and respect you for who you are, and I'm going to continue on this relationship without any issues of your previous life or who you are and who I know you're going to be. Or you're going to say to them, look, I respect you for who you are, I appreciate you for your honesty, but I'm going to decline to move forward with this situation. But the important factor in this is listening, not hearing what you want to hear and thinking that, yo, I heard what they said, but I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to fold them, I'm going to turn them into this and that. Listening, communication is about listening, processing. People think communication is all about talking. Communication, a huge part of communication is the process of listening and processing the information that's given to you. When you think about things around your house, you think about your car, when you think about your Xbox, your TV, when you turn it on, they're listening to the commands you're giving. They're listening to the information you're giving them, and they're responding due to processing. They're not coming back to you and say, yo, why did you push the power button? Why did you turn me on? No, they respond to the process. Yeah, I do that, people. Respond. Learn to listen. You'll learn a lot about a person, whether it's through verbal or nonverbal communication, if you're able to just shut your mouth for a second and just listen. Just watch. Person will tell you everything they want about you. You'll learn so much more. You'll become so much more enlightened, so much more smarter. People will expose themselves to you. The good, the bad, the ugly about themselves, the most beautiful parts about themselves, if you're capable of listening. You will learn what the issues are in your marriage, not just what the issues in the other person, but what the issues that lie within yourself if you're able to capably listen and process when your spouse is talking. Because the issue we have, again, listening with a defensive ear or a disrespectful ear, when someone's trying to tell us something about ourselves, what you mean you don't like this and that, and the way I wash dishes? Hold on, okay? Don't listen with a disrespectful ear. Process it. Okay, well, how about this? You don't like the way I wash dishes? No problem. How about this? You wash the dishes, I'll wash the clothes. If you don't like the way I wash the clothes too, no problem. You wash dishes and clothes, I'll fold the clothes, I'll dry dishes. Listening with non-disrespectful ear will allow you to respond accordingly and effectively, where it doesn't come down to, well, we gotta agree or disagree that you wash the dishes better than me or you wash the clothes better than me. It don't become that. It becomes a situation where you're not agreeing, disagreeing, that you're not compromising, but you're learning how to work together, and that you learn to work at someone's strengths and allow them to work at your weaknesses. You understand? You learn to work at becoming their strength and their weakness and allow them to be a strength at your weakness. You learn to work together. And effectively, if you learn to work together, what you become is a power couple. You become a power couple who are strong, who work together, who know how to communicate each other, not just know the bad and negative, but also know the strong parts, and are willing to allow that person to work in ways where you lack, and you can work in ways they lack. You learn to do things like I talked about. Instead of being mad when you know you communicate non-verbally, learn to give people space when you see someone frustrated. Not assume that it's because you forgot to take out the hamburger meat. Don't assume things. Allow them time to process their emotions of what they're feeling. Maybe they are mad about the hamburger meat, but let them process that upset, that anger, or that frustration they have. And when they're done processing it, they're ready to have a conversation about it. At that moment, listen to what they're saying, and then they must listen as you explain to them. I understand. This is the third time you asked me to take the hamburger meat. I forgot. I'm extremely sorry, but you know the process. I'm not making an excuse, but you know that project I had to do distracted me. I have to learn and be better at not allowing that to distract me, and I'm going to be better at that tomorrow. That's listening without being disrespectful. That's listening and taking ownership and responsibility for what you did. And that's listening and creating a healthy, strong environment. Because if you don't respect each other, it's not just about love. If you don't respect each other in a relationship, then the relationship's not going to go anywhere, and there's never going to be effective communication between each other. Nonverbal communication, sometimes someone's mad. It don't always mean you've done something wrong, you did something or you didn't do something. Sometimes people just be having a bad day or having a bad moment, and they need to process their own emotions, and they need time and space to do it. And what you have to do is learn your spouse by watching them and understanding them and giving them the proper space. Learn how to communicate effectively, and you'll reach that 15, 30-year, 50-year mark. This year, me and my wife will be officially married 13 years, been together 16 years. We're looking for many more years of me driving her crazy. And I hope for many more years of you as well in your long-term relationship. I want to thank you for listening to the Past to Present podcast. I'm your host, Alan Great. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe to my channel. Leave a comment. Let me know you stopped by. Let me know your thoughts and your stories about communication and how better you became communicating with your spouse, loved one, or significant other, or even friend or co-worker or a family member. Share your story with me or with other people. And I hope you learn and took something from today's episode. Until next time I see you people, I only got a few things left to say to y'all. Stay woke, stay focused, most importantly, stay tuned. Peace.